sa ating 24th Kapihang OH. Formally, ladies and gentlemen, our PCOM Quezon City Chapter President, Dr. Catherine Artais Carriaga.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Margo. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat na aming tagapanood at tagapagsubaybay. Sa aming kapamilya sa Philippine College of Occupational Medicine, mga kapuso sa OH at kapatid sa propesyon ng kalusugan. Isang mainit na pagtanggap mula po sa amin dito sa PCOM Quezon City Chapter. Sa nagdaang taon, maraming kaganapan na ang nangyari sa bansa. Ito ay isang parang telenovela na binubuo ng iba't ibang kulay ang bawat yugto ng istorya. Karamihan ng naganap sa buong 2020 ay isang malabangungot na kasaysayan sa karamihan dahil sa pandemyang dulot ng COVID-19. Ang mga Pinoy ay tinaguriang matatag na hindi sumuko sa mga unos na dumating noong nagdaang taon. Mapa-COVID man ito o pagsubok sa kalikasan, patuloy pa rin tayong nakikibaka at namumuhay para makasunod sa agos ng pagbabago. Sa pagsisimula ng bagong taon, 2021, bagong pag-asa ang umusbong sa puso ng karamihan. Pag-asang hatid ng panibagong buhay, dulot ng pagbangon at muling pagsilang ng liwanag mula sa pagkakalugmok dala ng pangkasalukuyang pandemya. Marami ng panuntunan ang pinatutupad ng iba't ibang sangay na sektor ng lipunan upang masugpo ang paglala ng sitwasyon sa bansa. Maraming polisiya at protokol ang nakalatag upang matugunan ang iba't ibang pangangailangan ng mga mamamayang Pilipino, lalo na ng ating mga mahal na manggagawa. Kaya po ngayong gabi, kami ay lubos na nalulugod dahil kasama po natin ang isa na namang eksperto sa larangan na ito sa ating ika-24 na Kapihang OH online na edisyon para talakayin ang DOLE Department Order 202-19 sa gitna ng pandemya. Understanding DOLE Department Order 202-19 in the midst of pandemic. Salamat at masaganang bagong taon sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Catherine Artais Carriaga, our PCOM Quezon City Chapter President. Ladies and gentlemen, my dearest colleagues and to our beloved guests from all sectors of workforce, we are very honored tonight at napaunlakan tayo ng ating panauhing pandangal ngayong gabi. To introduce our distinguished and honorable guest tonight, may we call our chapter CME Chairperson, Dr. Maria Cecilia Caiga Dayan.
Thank you, Doc Margo. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Our speaker for tonight is the Assistant Secretary for Regional Operations, Labor Standards, and Special Concerns of the Department of Labor and Employment. She is the concurrent director of the Bureau of Working Conditions of the same institution. A bona fide member of the PCOM QCC, please welcome Assistant Secretary Maria Teresita S. Cucueco. Magandang gabi po, ASEC.
Good evening po sa inyo lahat at to the President, to the officers, and to you, Ces, thank you so much for the warm introduction. So that, alam nyo, maiksi lang talaga ang if you will see the presentation, it's not long. Sabi ko nga, nung nakikinig ako sa mga intro, mas mahaba pa yung mga the anthem. But so that we will keep it short, and then you can also have questions. And I was seeing so many people who were coming in, and it was like, hindi naman to PCOM, but nandito si Emerson Terra. Emerson sa ano siya although safety and health consultant siya, which means so many people they are getting their updates from you, and that these are congratulations to the PCOM Quezon City chapter. And I also would like to congratulate PCOM, because you will be having your virtual convention very soon. And this is something new. And we all look forward to that. So can I share my screen so that we can start na po?
Yes po, Doctora. Thank you for that.
Okay. Do you want something?
Okay. All right.
Okay, you can see it na po, no? Everyone?
Opo.
Sige. And I will...
Yan po, Doctora. Whenever you're ready.
Yes, I will just, okay. So,
Right.
I think our discussion today is also very relevant. You hear the word WFH, work from home. Everybody's either people are using that really and are making use fully well of this arrangement because of COVID, or there are also others who have found difficulty in this kind of arrangement because it was also causing some job termination. But anyway, to go through the telecommuting work arrangement, you have to understand that this was even the law, which is Republic Act 11165, was signed, let me go, in 2018. I don't think we have coined the word COVID then, because COVID-19 was in 2019. But you see, this is important because many questions have arisen from this telecommuting law and then the IRR. But, COVID was not really in the perspective as this law and its IRR was passed. But during that time, marami na ang nagsa-start ng work from home, meaning to say there were jobs, there were positions in companies where they were already looking at work from home arrangements because it was suitable for some of the employees. Not all. If you look at the manufacturing sector, there, of course, operations will not really be, work from home will not happen if you're on the shop floor. But if you're in research, if you are in administration, then that kind of an arrangement can happen. Then BPOs also came in. And BPOs, although, work from home was, during that time, was really purely in BPO offices, there were some that was also resorting to work from home. And when we were having the discussion on the IRR following the law, we already learned that Microsoft was doing, predominantly they were doing work from home type of arrangement. So anyway, the law, which is RA 11165, became effective in 2019 of 28 January. And following this was a series of consultations by the DOLE with our stakeholders. I don't know if some of you were able to join that because it was really, the frequency as well as the number of meetings we had was numerous, and the IRR came out a few months after because it was already published in April 2019. And because of the effectivity of 15 days following publication, then it was effective on 2019. You have to understand that this was even before COVID. So what I am showing you, of course, it is applicable. It is applicable to work from home, but there are concerns now that are being raised, and that is why we are also looking at certain, perhaps not yet amendments to the law, but perhaps amendments to the IRR. Okay. Why was telecommuting arrangements already happening at that time? It was because, of course, of technology. When the internet and of course the computers, and they were able to start working anywhere, and it was also providing, and for those who were doing this, having a better sense of their productivity being enhanced. Well, that created the scenario where work from home was, or telecommuting work was accepted. So it is really looking at technological development that opened up new and alternative avenues for employees to carry out their work, such as telecommuting and other flexible work arrangement. And again, this is to affirm the policy of the state that labor is the primary social economic force. It is also looking, and when the law is passed, and what was the contents of the law, it was, of course, to have protection for the rights of workers and to promote their welfare. From using this and looking at technology, even in COVID, we see the likes of Zoom and many other video conferencing that has suddenly happened, and which also made us realize, pwede naman pala, pwede nga talaga mag-work from home, ang ibang klaseng trabaho, pwede rin mag-meeting na hindi mag-face-to-face, and we can also continue to be productive. So in this IRR as well as the law, we defined what is an alternative workplace, because it is now not anymore the office, but you have an alternative workplace, which is a location other than the regular workplace. Mga discussion dito na, ang Starbucks ba regular workplace? Yes. Ang beach ba? As long as you log in, as long as there is the technology, you can you are productive, there's output that's being produced, that can still be an alternative workplace. Kaso sa COVID, naging home. Kasi nga, may lockdown. Sarado na nun sa ECQ ang mga Starbucks. Wala namang ibang internet places. And that now leaves us with, and that was why the word work from home was the one coined, because talagang home na lang ang alternative workplace. But if you look at the law, that was really supposed to encompass not just the home, even internet cafes. Like I said, you can even have, that vacation, and you're still saying, I'm logging in, I'm still going to do my work. Okay, what is telecommuting? It is a work arrangement that allows an employee in the private sector to work from an alternative workplace with the use of telecommunication and computer technologies. And the next term is so important. I'm not sure if many of you know this, but this is really this is the essence of the law and the IRR, an agreement. That telecommuting agreement, it is necessary. This is a mutual consent of the employer and the employee in implementing a telecommuting work based on the telecommuting program. Kasi may agreement yan. Ito, pwede pala itong gawin na trabaho outside the office. So what is that program that must be delivered? That is what should be also, is part of the agreement. And it is now based on that, and even other agreements in the collective bargaining, if you have a union that they want added into this agreement, and other company rules and regulations. We will go through that in the next few slides. A telecommuting employee is a person who is on the telecommuting work arrangement, and a telecommuting program, as I mentioned to you earlier, is now the set of guidelines and rules governing the implementation of a telecommuting work arrangement. So it is, like I said, this was even before COVID. Actually, hindi. That's why the way the IRR is worded, isipin nyo na lang, nung mga panahon na yon, opisina na sinabing, itong mga trabaho na to, sa opisina na to, pwede na sa bahay. Pero yung mga gustong gumawa ba sa bahay, it is something they would like to do. That's why there is that voluntariness. It's that the IRR talks of a voluntary basis or a result of a collective bargaining agreement. In the collective bargaining, there is a union who prepared or developed which employees will go into a telecommuting program. This would be the agreements that are agreed upon. And it will, of course, the telecommuting program is based on terms and conditions that are mutually agreed upon. Mutually agreed, kasi voluntary. Ako po, sige, agree na po ako, mag-work from home, and there are conditions that I have also agreed on. But in the telecommuting agreement, there are also certain stipulations that should be followed. And it shall not be less than the minimum labor standard set by, of course, the labor code and the law. And the minimum would be the compensable work hours. What is our usual compensable work hours? Now, definitely the minimum is 8 hours per day. The 48 hours, that is now depending on what your usual time that the office requires you to be at work, but that should be there. The minimum number of work hours that should be produced in this work from home. How will you treat overtime? Because ganito kasi nun eh. And I am putting you in that frame. Kasi yung nangyayari sa opisina, ilalagay niyo lang sa bahay. Kaya if you are paid overtime in the office, you should also be paid overtime at home during this. But there should be a way to determine how you will be logging in or how they will be determining overtime. Then rest days. This has become very difficult, especially now because of COVID. Sinasabi nyo nga eh, katulad natin ngayon, 7:00 na. Sa akin ba, compensable pa ba yan? They actually, sa mga, in managerial positions, these are not anymore covered. But if I was like an 8-hour, then I'm still here at 7 o'clock. Overtime na ba to? Or what is in our agreement? And then yung rest days pa. 2 days, 1 day, we always have that. It depends on now what your company policy is, but there should be rest days. Eh ngayon, sinasabi na nga ng mga iba, pati linggo eh. Magzo-zoom daw sa linggo kasi doon lang yung available. Ano ng rest day namin? These are the nuances, these are the peculiarities that are happening now that we are also looking at, because I don't know if all of you've seen that, but then a directive of a press release of Secretary Bello said during this telecommuting, where employees can disconnect after 5, pumunta na, nakarating din ulit sa amin yan. Kaya nga sabi ko nga, truly, after 5, if it's an 8 to 5, tapos na. And you can really, but what is really in your agreement? Now we have to look at this because some say it has really also been abused because it's so easy to Zoom. It's so easy. These are now the accessibility, the facility to use all of this, but it is taking its toll, of course, on workers who have to be present and are doing this work. So, entitlement to leave benefits. So, paano ba to? Parang sa amin nung, just to say, like when Christmas was coming and then may mga special leave, sabi ko nga meron na. Kasi sa DOLE, we have 3 days work, 3 days on-site, 2 days work from home. Halos tapos meron pa like for the MARPs, they can even have like 14 days on and 14 days off. Sabi ko, hindi ko na nga nakikita, tapos may leave pa file, parang, okay. So, but then civil service did rule that these are the leave benefits that should be given, and that's it. But what is really going to govern will be, ano yung nasa agreement? Social welfare benefits, of course, these are, minimum. And again, even if it's work from home, this should still be paid. And the security of tenure, even if you're doing work from home, that is still work. And of course, security of tenure should be honored. Now, the telecommuting program shall include the duration of the program. Kasi, again, I will bring you back to pre-COVID na, sige, we're going to have this program, for the set of employees. Let's just look at it for the first 2 months, or if it's going to be continuing, like I said, sa Microsoft, which was already in our consultation, yun na pala yung kanilang then it was a perpetual duration because yun na yung kanilang work arrangements. So, but then if there is a duration, then it also has to be stated what are the rights, duties, and responsibility of the employee if they want to enter into this type of work arrangement. Remember, look at the words, if they want. COVID does not anymore give us the option of if we want it. In the ECQ, we had to, or even in the MGCQ, it's like it was compulsory to do the work from home. So there were, of course, what are the rights and our responsibilities and our duties as we are doing all of this work from home. But again, these are now the challenges we face and things we have to look into as we are possibly revising this, the telecommuting IRR. What are the contents of a telecommuting agreement? Like I said, this is the essence talagang, because ito yung babalikan if there will be any dispute, ano ba yung pinirmahan natin? Ano, ngayon ang tanong ko, meron ba talaga tayong pinirmahan? May agreement ba? Pero this telecommuting law and the IRR really made sure that there should be an agreement signed. So what do we mean by eligibility? Kasi it contains components in the agreement, eligibility. These are the workers who are eligible to do the work from home. Not everyone, di ba? Like I said, those who are in certain sectors or the departments that can do this. So sila yung eligible, yung mga iba hindi. So what would be the now for those eligible and those doing work from home, what would be the applicable code of conduct, and even more important, how will their performance be evaluated and assessed? This is now so difficult, even with us, although in the government now we have to submit weekly accomplishment reports. Definitely, it's really what did we do for the week, and I look at that in terms of our employees. Ano ba talaga ang nagawa? And kasi these are now assessment and performance assessment tools. So you should be looking at it, and again, they should be agreed upon. Now, the applicable code of conduct, you will see later certain data privacy measures. What is your appropriate alternative workplace? Like, hanggang internet cafe lang pala, or hindi pala din pwede yon. Talagang like now, when we say it's work from home lang. Hindi ka pwede pumunta dun sa, because that is not what we consider an alternative workplace. So yun na yung mga ano, these are now the, this should be in the agreements that we should have. And this is where, you know, even as we were discussing this, the telecommuting law and the IRR, the use and cost of equipment. Kasi nga, you're telling them to work from, lalo na noon sa BPO, but then who will provide? Kasi you cannot use any old equipment. It has to be updated. It has to also run on systems that should really be on optimum run. And who will shoulder all of this? So all of that should be part of the agreement. And then we also saw, you will see questions on who will pay for the electricity. I'm doing work from home na. Who will pay for the internet bill? Because it's also part of my work from home. These are things that should be considered in the telecommuting agreement. Now, how will you look at work days and hours? How will you log in? What are your login rules? Is it at 8 o'clock and then you have break? Because it's really putting an office setting at home. But then we know now that sometimes that's going to be difficult. So if that's not going to be followed, then how will you be assessing or evaluating work days and work hours of those who are doing work from home? Now, we also look in the agreement at conditions of employment, the compensation, the benefits, especially unique to telecommuting employees. So yun ang sinasabi ko, should we look at benefits of paying the internet services or having the internet connected? Because I remember there were discussions here na hindi pwedeng ordinary internet lang. Some would really need a very fast speed because this is what is required. So yan yung mga kailangan ilagay because these have to be factored in when you have work from home or a telecommuting type of arrangement. Non-diminution of benefits. What this just means to say is what has always been there, hindi na matatanggal unilaterally. Kasi yung mga noon, sinasabi nila, bakit uniform allowance namin tinanggal? Nag-work from home lang. Actually, kasi wala na kayong uniform sa home eh. You can really be on, of course, especially if there's no visual, if you're just doing output based on data set that you have to produce, you do not really have to show yourself visibly to the office. Then that was where it was becoming na paano na yon, pati yung transportation allowance dati meron, and nagwo-work from home na, kailangan pa ba? And that is where we're saying doon naman na mapupunta in terms of what are the other allowances that can be given, because these are the allowances naman na hindi na kailangan. I mean, it's not anymore required. And you can also understand the position of the employers when it comes to why, there will be no more need for a transportation, but then it can be aligned to an internet allowance. Now, safety and health is also very important. And when we were discussing this, when we were developing the IRR, sabi nga nila, wala naman makakapag-inspect sa home because there is the privacy of the home and the abode. So how will you know if your workstation is good? This is telecommuting before COVID, because now it's like, iba-iba na talaga mga workstation. But then, ang sinasabi namin, because you're asking them to have that workstation and they should be staying there for at least 8 hours and they're logging in, they should have a proper workstation with the proper equipment, ergonomic chairs, the tables where the computer is properly placed, and everything should be so that you will not have any ergonomic stresses at work. And then sabi na, who will evaluate? When we were discussing this, ang sinasabi na, may safety officer naman ang kumpanya. Si safety officer, either humingi siya ng snapshot ng workstation para maktingnan lang niya the proper workstation design that is, of course, appropriate to the worker. But is that being done now? I really am questioning that, because everybody who is doing a work from home with COVID is, sitting in a monoblock chair in any ordinary table like I am. But I do have, and I do know that if I will do a whole 8-hour work, there should be a proper workstation. And that is why safety and health should also be complied with. We use, and what we're saying is, you can companies can require snapshots of the workstation, and of course the pre-employ, all the medical I think this mga annual physical exam, lahat yan applicable pa and should be applicable, hindi pa applicable to all workers, even those doing work from home. Data privacy policy should always be observed. Remember, this is very important to the companies. Okay, nakamute ba ako kanina? Sorry, Sorry.
No, you're good, Doc. Go ahead, Pasek.
Okay, so dispute settlement, I'll talk about that, because if there will be any problems arising because of this agreement, it should also be settled. Now, termination or change of work arrangement during the time, if it was already felt of the employee feels that he cannot anymore do this telecommuting type of work, he can, and it should be also be in the agreement when they can terminate, and then he can go back to office work. So there is a note here that the employer or employee may terminate or change the telecommuting work arrangement in accordance with that policy or agreement without prejudice to the employment relationship and working conditions at no cost. Ibig sabihin nun, hindi na ako mag-work from home, papasok na ako sa opisina, nandun, nakasecure pa rin naman ang trabaho ko doon. Fair treatment is very important here in telecommuting. And it means, what we mean when we say fair treatment, the employer shall ensure that the telecommuting employees are given the same treatment as that of the comparable employees who are at work on site. So walang diferensya, dapat yan pare-pareho lang in terms of wages, all the benefits, everything. It should be fair for those working from home and working on site. Pero with COVID, remember there's also the hazard pay, special risk allowance. So that one that has to also be factored in, and this is more the risk here is higher for those on site, and we have to understand that, of course. The employer shall also ensure that measures are taken to prevent telecommuting employees from being isolated from the rest of the working community by giving them an opportunity to meet the colleagues on a regular basis. Ngayon, with COVID, this is a little bit iffy, because what we like is if there's so many people there, we are already discouraging mass gathering. We are still at that. I mean, that is still where we are now. We are not encouraging face-to-face. We limit it. And of course, there are still many restrictions we have to have because of COVID. So again, these are revisions, or let's put it this way, COVID, we look at this in the light of COVID, and we understand why we are not really going to put much emphasis on that meeting together, have these gatherings, because the risk of transmission will be there. For data protection, it's really on the employer who will be responsible for the measures to ensure the data protection, and that all of this is going to be used by the telecommuting employee. And that for the telecommuting employee, they shall ensure the confidentiality and the proprietary information are protected, and the provisions of the Data Privacy Act of 2012 is in effect. For us, like in DOLE, we have signed agreements on data privacy, especially for those who work from home. Now, if there are differences of interpretation in the law and the IRR, we follow these guidelines. The differences shall be treated as grievances, and the grievance mechanism of the company, or what the policy, what your grievance policy and program is, that will take effect. Like if you do not agree on, and there was a dispute, you will bring it to what was the first level? Sa HR lang ba? A meeting between HR and those who are not in agreement. Then all of that grievance mechanism policy should be followed. Now, if there is no grievance mechanism, or if the company grievance mechanism is inadequate, the grievance shall be referred to the DOLE, which is the regional office, of course, and will now look at the conciliation practices. And if it remains unresolved after conciliation and mediation, it shall be referred to the NLRC in accordance with the Labor Code. All now, I know now, but even then, all companies who are doing work from home or telecommuting should notify the DOLE. We do have the online reporting system, and we already have we have thousands of companies who have registered online that there are work from home arrangements. So this is happening, but we hope companies really accomplish that notification that there is work from home arrangement or telecommuting work arrangement. Now, if the employer has branches, operational units outside the region of its principal office, each branch shall also submit its respective report to the nearest DOLE field office. So like we said, this is all done online naman, and we do have the reports that have been submitted to the DOLE. And this is an example of the form on the telecommuting work arrangement. I am not sure if this has also been revised, because we now have the online registration. So just take a look, because it is online. You can go to our the website of the DOLE and the BWC, and you can take a look at that online registration. the terms of or any similar voluntary agreement between an employer and employee, such as existing company policy or policy allowing work from home or similar arrangements providing substantially similar higher benefits, shall not be impaired. Meaning to say, if we came out with this at this point in 2019, pero meron na palang better benefits that a company has been doing even before the law and the IR came out, then itutuloy lang. The employer should just notify the DOLE of such an agreement. This is the telecommuting pilot program. We are, it's research. It's a research tool where we are looking at those companies who are having telecommuting programs, and this is going to be done like for 3 years, and we will submit a report to the Congress on what the findings are, what the gaps and the weaknesses are. And like we said, because of COVID, we really see certain challenges and difficulties or certain revisions that must happen in the IRR because of the pandemic. So that's it po. Like I said, this is really short, but now because of the work from home arrangement, this is very kumbaga, very important. This is good. This is not just good to know, but it is worth knowing because I don't know how many of you here have agreements of telecom, but take a look, and maybe if you don't have, it's time you should have this. And there are components inside the agreement that you should also that should be present. So again, thank you so much for inviting the DOLE. Like I said, we're always here to respond to any questions, and if you have any further queries, please feel free to ask, and I am opening this now for questions. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stop sharing na, ha?
Opo. Salamat po, ASEC Cucueco, for that insightful discussion. ASEC Cucueco, are we ready for the question and answer na po?
Please, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Ito po ang isang matinding tanong po, no? The telecommuting program, ito po, okay. Ito na lang, mas maganda po ito. Should a worker contract COVID-19 while on telecommuting or work from home, will that be considered as work-related illness, hence to be reported in the WAIR COVID, and compensable ba ito by the employee's compensation? So, dalawa pong issue niya.
Yeah, dalawang issue yan. Thank you for for watching out. There were 2 issues. One, should you report, ito na muna yung mas madali, should you report, empleyado pa rin kayo, COVID, you're still a COVID case, report. Anyway, the COVID wire is not really a big it's not like your case investigation form. It's just simply ilan, sino yung mga so that we also have a database on the sectors, the companies that would have been affected by COVID. So you will report even if you're doing work from home. You're still an employee. Maski contractual ka, empleyado ka pa rin, i-report nyo pa rin yan. So whatever type of work arrangement you have, contractual, job, you will report. Okay, next. Compensable. That is a little bit more, kasi naman, when we talk of work-related, it is because of work that you got or you acquired the disease. If you have been working from home, like for the past, kasi di ba ang infectiousness, marinig mo na, si 10 days, pero kung close contact ka, di 14 days, o punta na tayo sa 14, o baka 15 pa, nakalabas ka, baka you went to work, so yes. you can, the risk, let's look at the risk. But if you were at home and you had to be at home, o pumunta kasi sa palengke, hindi naman na work yun. Unless sinabi ng kumpanya mo, ay dumaan kasi sa palengke kasi meron kang bibilhin para sa, I don't know. But then, let's just put it that if it is related to work, then it is work-related. But if it was so remotely related to work, edi hindi na. Now, kasi ang hihingin talaga, the burden of proof will come from you. the GSIS, they have already been compensating COVID for work-relatedness, but you have to show, and you should that burden of proof will say, galing ba talaga sa trabaho ko, kung kanino yan, at kung saan nanggaling yan, at dahil sa trabaho.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. Medyo ito, ewan ko kung magaan or ano po, no? Can a worker decline work and or work-related activities after agreed upon office hours and work days? Dahil nga sa very accessible na po ang ating pag-i-internet, Viber, every now and then magtanong na lang, no? Can we not answer those after work hours?
Ganito kasi, and this is where we are now. I mean, usually if there was no COVID, that we would really say, ilagay niyo yan sa agreement. Until now, we would always say, put that as part of your agreement. Talk to HR. Hanggang saan ba? Or kasi we also see now, like if you're doing work from home, sinasabi nga nila, synchronous, asynchronous, synchronous yung, kasi that's really the hours of work. Asynchronous, I will leave some hours of work to be my rest period, but then at the nighttime, I'm going to do work. So it is now an arrangement that, again, if you're using, and I think you really have to use this arrangement where you have agreements, discuss and say, hanggang dito. Now, if it happens after na, let's do it tomorrow, the following day. You know, there should also be limits. And that is why, especially for mental health, you know, now the pressures of having this, you know, going online, going on board, it is so difficult, and it will have bearing and consequences also on our mental health, because it also takes time away from like family and all that. So that's why in the agreements, it makes sure that if it can be taken up the following day, then you will take it up, and there is no compulsoriness to answer it, especially if it is not. But then there will be the emergency.
Yes,
true. Yan yung i-define nila. What is emergency? Emergency ba yung, kasi like now we have to go to the different sectors. Kasi with sometimes there are things you have to monitor. So ano yung emergency na at least within the next, sasagot kayo, but then after that, again, tapos na. So again, we let you define it well, define it with HR. If you have a union, let the union also work with you in defining what the situation will warrant that you are going to connect again on your rest period na.
Okay. Salamat po, Doc Asek, no? Ito pa ho. Paano mo po maka-clarify or clarification on definition ng work-related accident in the new normal when it comes to telecommuting? Halimbawa, na kuryente, yung mga ganun po habang nagta-type ay yung mga ganun po. I think ito yung niyang sabihin sa work-related accident in terms with work from home. Nadapa siya sa cord, yung ganun.
Yun na, sige. Yun, actually, na-take up namin kaya nga yung workstation. Hanggang saan ba si workstation? At kasi, kaya nga sinasabi namin, please take a look kasi yung mga makuryente o yung electrical connection na sa lusalungot na pwede magkaroon ng aksidente doon, pati yung buong bahay. You work with safety and health so that they will be able to guide you on the proper, on how your workstation should be, the proper electrical conditions of where, the computer or the equipment that you will be using. Now, yung mga madapa ka kasi nasa bahay ka at nadulas, pwede rin mangyari yun sa opisina, di ba? Pero, kasi ang tanong doon, ano bang circumstance na nadulas? Again, you will that burden of proof. Kung kasi, in-agree naman pala na meron palang, I don't know, or they, if I'm talking of surfaces, like surfaces that are slippery, and then they said that's your okay na yon, but then suddenly you slipped and there was no other guards or there, then that goes to safety and health, and what are the provisions of safety and health that will make it, that will prove that it was because of a risk, and it is the work that you're doing at home that increased the risk. It's now, all of this will have, this is so new now. I guess even those who will evaluate will take note of this, and as you're telling me now, I will look into this also, because these are questions that are coming up. So ano pa mga aksidente, work-related, work from home? Alam mo ba, yung mga iba din, then the computer, carpal tunnel, I mean, depende na on the type of work. This is your realm where you look at musculoskeletal problems that may happen. So if it's going to happen, then we can say, yes, that these are those that can happen because of the work from home.
True naman. Sek, paano yung mga nag-i-insist na since they're working from home at sasabihin, may sakit ka? I mean, ang ano ko doon is, let's say, di ba nagko-consult sila sa mga company doctors po nila that they're gonna tell that they're sick. So, ang ano doon, medyo blurry yung line is, they're always gonna tell na, kaya naman po namin mag-work, pero may sakit po ako. So, parang nalilito kami kung sasabihin namin na, sige, wag kang magtrabaho, pero sasabihin naman ni worker, nasa bahay naman ako, kaya ko naman po. So, paano kaya yung mga ganon? How do we give our decision?
Alam mo, as a doctor now, kasi you should ask how far, I mean, ano bang now I'm also going to talk to as a doctor, and kung may magtatanong sa akin yan, may sipon ho ako. Ang sipon mo ba, ano yan, pwede ka bang, or mas mahusay na magpahinga ka na lang. And then, it will really be an evaluating. You can look at him visibly or to help you evaluate. But kasi kung talagang sabi niya pwede, pero namumutla na, edi wag na. And, you also have to understand, you have to also look at the condition. But if he's just like having some sniffles because pwede nahawan or then it really is, sige, pwede ka naman, then, and there are work from home jobs that he can do. It's really now how you will evaluate and the work that needs to be done.
True.
So, kasi talaga lahat yan I cannot, there's no hard fast rule, but use your better judgment as a physician.
Ang endpoint kasi po nun, ASEC, i-file nila sa SSS yung sick leave, pero nagtrabaho pa din sila. Yung parang maganon po ang ano nila
Alam mo, marami ng ganyan.
Kaya nga po. So another question po.
And ewan ko, when SSS will smarten up to look,
ayun na nga po.
Talagang nagkasakit ito. I don't know. But these are really things that are happening.
These are the challenges.
These are the new things we're seeing now.
True. Would imposition of penalties as provided in the existing company policies be fair if given to workers who were required to return to office-based arrangement from work from home arrangement? Kasi di po ba nagsimula tayo na, sige, magtrabaho tayo work from home. And then now, there are industries that balik na po tayo physically sa opisina. Now, paano kung yung worker natatakot na invoke niya yung unsafe practice ay unsafe work, mga ganun po. Meron po bang imposition of penalties na maipapataw ng kumpanya doon sa worker, like aalisin ka na lang namin, mga ganun po kung hindi ka papasok? Pero work from home siya dati, parang ganun naman.
Alam mo, what you're telling us are the things that have been asked of us also already. Ngayon, kasi kailangan din natin i-balance din yung pangangailangan ng kumpanya. Now, as long as, kasi then we look at ano ba yung imminent danger situation? Ito bang kumpanya may physical distancing? In fact, hindi naman lahat talaga pinapapasok. At talagang sumusunod na kung masama ang pakiramdam, hindi talaga dapat pumasok. So, they're also trying to limit the number of people and to make sure that those who report are also protected and their safety and health is assured. we have to overcome that fear. Or it happened to me as well. But kailangan na but I keep myself protected. Kaya we have the minimum public health standards, the mask, the shield, frequent disinfection. And then talagang if I can avoid mask, or I will stay just like less than 15 minutes and go. Less than pa, then if I meet with people or I need to sign, but it's just me and myself. So that I also, and for the workers, yun din naman, try to avoid so much interaction, try to always follow and comply with the minimum public health standards. But of course, that fear will always be there. But when you will be able to, then it gets better. Your confidence also increases because you will understand din naman na, the company is also taking care of you. So, but okay, we're also telling companies to have that policy. Kasi if they're required and ayaw pa rin, you can ask them for an explanation, or maybe they can still be given work from home. Especially if they're yung most at risk. Isipin na natin yon. If they truly are, and they then try to, of course, give that allowance. But if they're already needed, then company policies will have to come in, and we have to understand that. Because companies also need to work, to operate, and to have the people working there. Otherwise, if it's not producing or the outputs are not going to, magsasara na rin yan. Eventually, lahat naman matatalo na.
True. Totoo naman po yan, Asek. Ngayon, we already touched the most at risk na population, no? Who are in work from home situation. Are they required to give a fit to work certification after an illness, even if they're working at home?
Ay, hindi. Yung kung work from home na sila, kasi yung fit to work naman if they go now and report physically to work, the most at risk.
Okay. Diba? So, pag mag-physical sila, dapat may fit to work.
Oo. Pero kung work from home, yung APE, yung annual physical examination, yun na naman din yung mga magiging ninyo eh.
Kasehan.
Oo. Pero kasi do you know that even the most at risk wants to go, kasi nakikita na nila na if they will not go back to work, sometimes their job, they will also, natatakot na sila, mawawalan sila ng trabaho eh.
Oo, totoo po yun.
And that was why they were asking, pwede na ba kami? Kasi malapit, so that's why we relaxed it a bit in the joint memo circular. If they, their condition controlled naman yung the hypertension, and they can, and you're monitoring them, and they're given the proper precautions, allow them to work.
Okay. Now, with regards to hazard pay, ASEC, or special risk allowance, where should the HR base their computation? Number of days work or the risk of exposure?
Ganito yan, nasa gobyerno lang po tayo.
Aha.
Pag hazard pay, special risk. But then sa healthcare, okay, now I'm going to talk of Bayanihan 2. In Bayanihan 2, hazard pay and special risk for healthcare. And healthcare was not just the doctors, the nurses. It also identified even, I think, the ambulance drivers, of course, the medtech, kasi allied healthcare. So those who are also doing that, they were given. Now, how is it going to be computed if you report? I think they were looking at those who report physically to work. And that's why it is a risk. And that's why the hazard pay is because you are present.
Okay.
So
Physically
on the
present.
maybe the DOH can, or I would refer you back to the guidelines if they have the computation for that. But again, it is only if you're looking at for the Bayanihan 2. Yeah, if the private sector was already included there. The Bayanihan 1, wala pang private sector. It was really more government. Bayanihan 2 covered even for those in the private sector. But if you're not in the healthcare, wala.
Yun lang. Oh.
Yun lang.
Yung
Wala.
mga ating Pag ano pa yan, pagpaplanuhan. Ito po, may situation po tayo, ASEC. Bigay po ako ng situation. The company provided WFH or work from home staff with the required equipment to be used by worker. Nakikita ko po ito sa mga call center na nag-work from home, pinapadala ng laptop, mga ganon ang nakita ko situation. After 5 months of regular 40-hour work week, kasi call center sa bahay, one of the equipment overheats and catches fire and burns down the house. Will this be classified as work-related accident?
Burns down the house?
Opo, yan. May ganun siguro po nangyari. Kaya may months talaga, 5 months, 40-hour work week. Sa call center po kasi talagang araw-araw po yung laptop.
The equipment is really given by the company because yun na yung the speed, the system, kaya nga it's company provided. Now, kung nasunog, ano bang arson report?
Ayun na nga po.
Really, that is kasi is it talaga bang sumabog si laptop? Kasi these are things that you should have to prove. Kasi now who will answer for that? Fire because of these kinds. Ewan ko lang kung GSIS pa yan. I really don't know. I will ask. That's the best thing I can do, but look at the arson report also because to find out what really caused the fire. That we go back to that.
Ay, true. Baka sinabay doon sa air fryer, habang
yun din ang ko. Baka naman may yung gasol na sumabog. Sabay-sabay kasi
Yun ang hirap nga po dahil nga kailangan talagang tama at sakto ang electric current na tumatakbo sa mga equipment. To which, pwede po bang maging gauge yun, ASEC, na hindi ka tanggapin ng isang employer kung mag-work from home na dahil hindi sapat yung internet mo, sa'yo i-require yun, o dapat ang mag-provide nun ay yung employer nyo? Halimbawa, yung internet ko kasi prepaid lang. Kailangan broadband. Pag ganun po ba, dapat ba si employer po doon?
Alam mo, I know especially nung ECQ, they had to provide everything. Kasi, the BPO work did not stop. That's why service and even the internet had to be given. And talagang ngarag sila because, transporting the equipment and looking for internet providers that can give them the necessary speed and the access. But I'm not sure if all. But then kasi, remember the portion in the slide when I talked of eligibility, kung napaka-isolated at hindi naman talagang signal doon, wag na pong pilitin na mag-work from home yun dahil naman din ang makakarating sa kanya. Diba? Baka naman nandun na siya, yung nakamarinig mo, nasa puno na. O baka naman gusto na niyang magtrabaho sa worksite.
Oo nga po. Totoo naman po yun, ASEC. May tanong lang po dito, just for clarification. Is it telecommuting po ba ang teleconsult din po? Para ma-clarify lang po sa ating mga calling.
Teleconsult is also, teleconsult is using technology din, di ba? Avoiding face-to-face because the risk, again, we talk of an infectious disease here. And that's why if you're talking of telecommuting because of technology, then it runs parallel to the definition. So it's like it is also telecommuting. Now, ang tanong doon, si doktor ba dapat nasa home? Or, yun yung mga if your clinic is very situated naman na you're just there, but then you're not letting the people come to you anymore because they can, like from their home, they call the clinic, then that is also telecommuting. But you are at work. You're not at home. You can be at home also if that's but if you want your clinic is also you're safe there and that's where you want to work and then that's still telecommuting. There's technology, pero kasi the other side is the one from home.
True.
Yun
nga po So to top that question, how do we reconcile the teleconsultation or telemedicine and the number of hours worked by the company physician in pursuant to DO 198-18, ASEC.
198. Yung ano, OH standards?
Opo.
Ano ulit? Yung how will you reconcile hours of work?
Opo. By the company physician pursuant to DO 198-18 po or -18.
Kasi 198 is safety and health. Now, if you're talking of hours of work, ano ba ang hours of work ninyo sa na agreed upon? Ngayon, 'di ba, o di sabi niyo nga may work from home at tapos may tatawag sa inyo.
Opo.
What is your with your agreement with HR? I will accept kasi syempre yung mga masamang pakiramdam hindi na ako makaantay ng 8:00 ng kinaumagahan. Can you have those agreements where you can log in and you can log in using technology also, internet by na these are by text, so that you're saying na ito na, now if it is beyond, pwede bang overtime na yan, yung the usual 40 hours, kasi ang usapan ho natin, I'm going to be paid by 40 the 40-hour work week, but anything, and that is that because there is overtime. Kaya nga sabi ko nga, ito, overtime na sa atin, no? Pero hindi. I mean, that is, if you should be paid overtime in the regular on-site work, you should also be paid overtime as you do work from home. That's part of that. And then have that as part of your agreement with HR. Now, yun na nga, now kasi as doctors, you really cannot say, ayoko na sagutin yan. But at least log it in and then be adequately compensated. Have that in your agreement.
I have it in the agreement. Maraming salamat po, ASEC. I think na nakuha na namin lahat ng mga katanungan. I-check lang po natin, ASEC, kung meron pa po.
Teka, meron akong kasi hindi ko na masagot ito. Workplace na confirm na okay, workplace confirm na may COVID-19. Pwede ba mag-file sa ECC? Kung pumasok siya sa workplace na may COVID-19 at naka-COVID din siya, file nyo. Yung burden of proof, yung katrabaho. But then, siguro naman katrabaho mo siya, hindi naman ikaw ay nasa 5th floor, siya ay nasa 1st floor, at hindi kita, medyo baka naman magtanong, unless you meet in like the canteens or you also had some, interaction. I will not dispute interactions that can happen. Pero kung hindi talaga, walang interaction, tapos you also had COVID, those are but if the ECC or SSS is not asking for more details, then because there is a COVID case.
Ito po, may itanong pa ho dito, ASEC. Kung ang company at OH physician nito ay may kasunduan na pwedeng hindi pumunta ang doktor sa company basta tumanggap ito ng teleconsult, papayagan ba ito ng DOLE as part of the required number of hours na dapat ang doktor ay nasa company?
Oo naman.
Okay.
Work from home nga eh.
Opo. Is bayanihan to applicable to healthcare workers who are working in private companies that are not classified as hospitals like company clinics?
Please look at the IRR of DOH kasi nag-issue sila eh. I'm not sure if they covered it kasi I know, of course, healthcare facilities, but kasi I'm not anymore, but please look kasi if you're defined and it is part of that, then you are. But kung walang sinasabi na kung talagang healthcare facility lang like hospitals, institutions, health institutions, as ang mahirap dyan pag sinabi pa exempting. But that's why nga, please read. Exempting company. But if it does not exclude, then you will be included. But you will ask the DOH. Kasi sa DOH na po ang pondo na yan.
Meron din po dito na, ito reklamo na po ito. Okay lang ba yung setup na kahit 5 days ka nag-work, 3 days lang babayaran kasi work from home daw? 5 days nag-work, 3 days. Ay, may ganun sigurong company.
Hindi, mali naman po
Opo.
yan. Oo. Mali yun. Yung work from home ay trabaho pa rin. So ang bayad ho sa inyo, if it was 5 days, and whether it was at home or at on-site, that is work that should be compensated. Kung gusto niyo tingnan na ho namin yan, ibigay niyo na lang ho, go to our website, you will see our email. Ipapa-inspect ho natin yan. Pupuntahan ho yan ng inspector.
Ay, maraming salamat. Ito, last question na po. Ano po, ASEC, would you recommend? Ay, hindi. Ito po. Compulsory po ba na mag-issue ng risk assessment certificate para makapag-work from home ang employee? Ano po ang validity ng medical certificate for comorbid illness? Every 3 months po ba? 6 months? Etc.
There's nothing written there. There's no hard fast rule. We leave it up to you. Oo. There's nothing. There's no hard.
Exciting itong telecommuting na topic. Ano po?
Oo nga
Marami ibang ano po.
Ang daming tanong.
Opo, totoo po yan. Now, since 8:30 na, tayo ka na namin ano po, no? Kasi marami naman po kaming natutunan ngayong gabi. Mag-ano na po kami, no? I-cut off na namin ang mga katanungan dahil pwede naman po namin kayong lapitan, no? Saan po ba namin kayo mai-email, tatawagan?
Okay, the BWC Secretary, one word, BWC Secretary, as you pronounce it, one word, at gmail.com or askbwc@gmail.com.
Okay,
just
that's
use
bwc@gmail.com.
Oo.
Salamat po, no? Now, before po, ano po, no? Bago po tayo magtapos, ASEC, mamaya po mag-picture taking po tayo, no? Para sa ating traditional na photo op. Okay lang po ba? Ay, salamat po.
Yes.
I-ano lang po namin, no? I-formally end lang po namin. Then after nun, sa ending, magpictura na po tayo. Okay. Now, maraming salamat po. Thank you, QCC Virtual Kapihang Team. Excellent job to everyone. Pinapangunahan po ng aming technical head, our very own PCOM QC Chapter Secretary, Dr. Jose Angelo Taylor. Maraming salamat sa mga nag-participate ngayong gabi. Sana marami tayong natutunan. Mangyari ay huwag muna tayong umalis para sa ating traditional online photo opportunity. To our honorable guest, ASEC, may we have that later on, ha? Paantay lang po. Thank you po. At tapusin lang po namin ang closing remark. Okay. To formally end tonight's educational activity, ladies and gentlemen, our Chapter Vice President, Dr. Jeremiah Martin Ferrante.
Thank you very much, Dr. Raku. In behalf of the Quezon City Chapter of the Philippine College of Occupational Medicine, I would like to thank DOLE Assistant Secretary Maria Teresita Cucueco. ASEC Tess, maraming salamat at parati nyo kaming pinagbibigyan. Again, for sharing to us your insights on the role of telecommuting as one of the alternative work arrangements nowadays and as part of the new normal. The implementing rules and regulations of telecommuting are enshrined in DOLE Department Order Number 202, Series of 2019, and we at QCC hopes that you have learned, all our participants have learned a lot from tonight's Kapihan, and you'll be able to cascade this information to our colleagues in the company. Allow me to acknowledge the national officers and board of directors who are here with us tonight, headed by Dr. Phil Pangilinan. Thank you very much. Thank you also to the rest of the QCC's membership, the officers and the board of directors for your continued support. I would like to express my gratitude as well in behalf of the chapter to the entire PCOM membership and to all advocates of occupational safety and health, our consultants and practitioners who are here with us, including my colleagues from the Occupational Safety and Health Center, human resource practitioners, and managers who have joined us tonight. You are our effective purveyors in ensuring that all our workers are always safe and healthy. Lastly, congratulations and thank you to the men and women behind this Kapihang OH. You are the pillars to the success of this institution. Before I finally close tonight's Kapihan, please do not forget to visit, subscribe, like, and share all our videos posted at our official YouTube page or YouTube channel. Do not forget also to hit its notification bell to get updated on our informative videos. Please visit, follow, and like also our other official social media pages at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Should you have queries, concerns, and suggestions for the next Kapihang OH or topic for the next Kapihang OH, you may email us at PCOM Quezon City Chapter at gmail.com. Lastly, we would like to invite everyone to the 42nd Annual National Convention at the Philippine College of Occupational Medicine this March 17 to 21 via Zoom Cloud meetings. We will be posting the advertisement in our official social media accounts for your information. Thank you, everyone. Hope everyone are safe and healthy. Do not forget that in Quezon City Chapter, we value your safety and health. Hashtag PCOM QCC Cares. Good evening.
Salamat, Doc Jing. Salamat po sa pagdalo. Sa susunod po muling 25th Kapihang OH, ako po si Dr. Margo Venus Ku na parating nagpapaalala na sa Quezon City Chapter, ang inyong kaligtasan at kalusugan ay mahalaga. Hashtag PCOM QCC Cares. Good night, everyone. Stay safe and healthy.